People from Somalia are not garbage. That's not a biased statement. That's not partisan. That's not anti-Trump statement. It's not a political statement. It is simple, factual, a human statement.
Moving on to Somalia now, the country has unveiled a new container terminal at the Mogadishu port, and that move marks a major milestone and significantly increases the country's cargo handling capacity.
We have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few. Let us have a few. From Denmark, do you mind sending us a few people? Send us some nice people, do you mind? But we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime. The only thing they're good at is going after ships.
The room in Washington was sealed, windowless, humming with low electricity and panic. Screens flickered to life one after another, maps glowing red and blue, satellite feeds frozen on grainy images of cranes, shipping lanes, coastlines that suddenly mattered far more than they had 12 hours earlier. A junior analyst's voice cracked as she read the alert again, as if repetition might make it less real. The deal was canceled, not delayed, not renegotiated. Canceled. Silence felt like a physical weight. A senior official leaned back, fingers steepled, eyes fixed on the words scrolling across the screen. Somalia. Port agreement terminated by executive decree. Immediate effect. All U.S. linked operations suspended pending review. The sentence was short, surgical, and devastating. Someone swore under their breath. Phones began vibrating almost in unison. Secure lines lit up. Somewhere deep inside the building, a door slammed. This was not supposed to happen. The port deal had been years in the making, wrapped in development language, security cooperation, counterterrorism frameworks, humanitarian access. It had survived leaks, protests, parliamentary delays. It had been sold as inevitable. And now, in a single announcement from Mogadishu, it was gone. A general broke the silence. Who signed off on this? No one answered. Because the truth was worse. Everyone knew. Half a world away, Mogadishu slept uneasily beneath a hazy moon. The sea whispered against the shoreline, indifferent to politics, as it had for centuries. Inside the presidential compound, however, no one was sleeping. The air was thick with tension, the kind that sticks to the skin. The president stood alone by a window, looking out at the city. Lights flickered. Somewhere, a generator coughed to life. He could still hear the echo of the meeting from hours earlier. The raised voices, the slammed table, the silence that followed the final vote. Ministers had argued, pleaded, warned. Intelligence chiefs had spoken in careful phrases, avoiding absolutes. Foreign advisors had used words like consequences and stability. He had listened to all of it. Then he had signed. The document lay on the desk behind him, its ink already dry. Cancellation of the port and security agreement with foreign partners. Immediate sovereignty review of all strategic infrastructure. It was the boldest decision any Somali leader had made in a generation. Perhaps the most dangerous. A knock came at the door. Soft. Urgent. They're asking if you want to address the nation tonight, an aide said. The president closed his eyes for a moment. He knew what was coming. Pressure. Threats. Promises. He also knew something else, something that had kept him awake for weeks. Hidden clauses. They had been buried deep in annexes and technical language. Leasing terms that extended far beyond public timelines. Arbitration rules that moved disputes to distant courts. Security provisions that allowed temporary foreign control in moments of instability. Instability defined by the same partners who would benefit from invoking it. Revenue-sharing formulas that favored external operators for decades before Somalia would see real returns. It wasn't just a port. It was a lock on the future. When the president turned back to his aide, his voice was steady. I'll speak in the morning. Let the world sit with it for a while. By dawn, the world was already screaming. Washington's response was swift, if not public. Emergency briefings stacked on top of each other. Intelligence agencies scrambled to assess intent. Was this ideological? Opportunistic? Influenced by rivals? Or worse, was it contagious? A senior diplomat stared at a map of Africa, red circles marking ports, corridors, coastlines. If this stands, she said quietly, others will follow. In another room, analysts dissected Somali domestic politics, replaying old footage, tracing networks, naming factions. Words like leverage, exposure, pressure floated through the air. Someone suggested sanctions, carefully framed. Someone else warned against pushing too hard, too fast. The room split between those who wanted to make an example and those who feared making a martyr. Meanwhile, the media war began. Headlines screamed betrayal, irresponsibility, destabilization. Anonymous officials leaked concerns about security vacuums, extremist resurgence, humanitarian access at risk. Pundits questioned Somalia's readiness to manage strategic assets alone. The narrative formed quickly, efficiently, as if pre-written. But in Mogadishu, another story was unfolding. The president convened a smaller meeting. Trusted faces only. No phones. No recordings. They spoke in low voices about contingency plans, about reserves, about who could be trusted when the pressure came. They discussed the port, not just as infrastructure, but as symbol. Whoever controlled it controlled trade, security, leverage. For decades, one minister said, "We have been told protection comes with a price." Today, we said no. The intelligence chief leaned forward. "They won't accept that easily." "No," the president replied. "But neither can we accept permanent dependency disguised as partnership." Across the Horn of Africa, whispers turned into conversations. In Addis Ababa, Nairobi, Dakar, Lagos, screens replayed the announcement. Social media erupted. Some celebrated Somalia's defiance, calling it a reclaiming of dignity. Others warned of economic fallout, isolation, retaliation. In markets and cafes, people argued late into the night. Was this courage or recklessness? A turning point or a disaster? In the global south, the story resonated differently. Here was a small nation standing up to a superpower, not with weapons, but with paperwork, with sovereignty, with refusal. And somewhere, quietly, other actors were watching. They did not issue statements. They did not tweet. They sent envoys under the radar, through intermediaries and business councils, think tanks, and development forums. They spoke of alternative financing, of respect, of non-interference. They did not ask for public commitments. Not yet. Washington noticed the silence more than any declaration. Within days, economic pressure began to hum beneath the surface. Aid reviews announced. Loan disbursements paused pending clarity. Insurance premiums for shipping near Somali waters spiked overnight. Media outlets ran stories questioning investor confidence. Inside Somalia, tensions rose. Rumors of sabotage circulated. A fire at a warehouse near the port was declared accidental, but no one believed it. Opposition figures suddenly found platforms on international networks. Protest organizers received anonymous funding. The president moved carefully, aware that every step was being watched, interpreted, distorted. He addressed the nation at last, speaking not of defiance, but of dignity, not of enemies, but of choices. "This decision," he said, "is not against any nation. It is for ours." The speech spread across the continent. In Washington, patience thinned. A closed briefing ended with a simple directive. Increase pressure without fingerprints. Let markets speak. Let narratives shape perception. Let internal fractures widen. Yet something unexpected happened. The pressure did not break Somalia. Instead, it clarified lines. Public support for the decision solidified as details of the hidden clauses leaked, not officially, not traceably, but convincingly. Diagrams circulated. Simplified explanations went viral. What had once seemed abstract became personal. This port was not just concrete and steel. It was jobs, customs, sovereignty. African commentators began framing the issue differently. This was not Somalia versus Washington. This was precedent versus possibility. Ports, they argued, were the new weapons. Not bombs, but bottlenecks. Whoever owned them owned the flow of goods, data, influence. Control the port, and you control the nation without firing a shot. The narrative shifted. Washington's allies grew uneasy. Some urged restraint, fearing backlash. Others pushed for escalation, warning that letting Somalia get away with it would embolden others. Inside the White House, the president listened, jaw tight. "We cannot lose the Horn," he said finally. "Not like this." Back in Mogadishu, the president received a message through a secure channel. Not a threat, an offer. Revised terms. Better optics. Shared control. He read it twice. Then he deleted it. What followed was quieter, darker. Cyber intrusions. Disinformation campaigns. Sudden capital flight by firms with opaque ownership. An assassination attempt thwarted by minutes. Each move was deniable, each escalation calibrated. And yet, Somalia held, because something had changed. The decision had awakened a sense of agency that could not be easily undone. Civil society groups organized. Economists debated alternatives. Youth spoke openly about futures not tethered to foreign approval. Across Africa and beyond, leaders watched closely, some with hope, some with fear. In Washington, a senior strategist admitted in private, "We underestimated the symbolism." The port remained closed to foreign control, its gates guarded by Somali forces under Somali command. Ships rerouted. New talks emerged, different voices at the table. The global order did not collapse, but it shifted, subtly, irreversibly. And as the dust settled, one truth became impossible to ignore. The cancellation of a single deal had exposed the fragility of an entire system built on assumption that power, once established, would always be accepted. Somalia had proven otherwise. In the final hours of the year, as waves continued to break against the Horn of Africa, strategists in distant capitals stared at maps that no longer looked the same. The decision made in Mogadishu had not ended a conflict. It had started something far larger, a realignment unfolding quietly, relentlessly, beyond headlines and press releases. Washington would respond. It always did. But for the first time in a long while, it was responding to a move it had not made, on a board it no longer fully controlled.